Okay, really quick, look around the room and find everything that you can that is purple. Just mentally notice all of the purple things that you see. Now stop. Even with purple being an uncommon color, did you notice that your brain started looking for it and all of the sudden purple appeared everywhere? That's basically how your brain works all day long. Your brain is constantly scanning your reality, looking for evidence that matches what you repeatedly focus on. And this happens because of something called the reticular activating system, also known as the RAS or ROS. I really don't think anybody calls it ROS, I just said that. Anyways, the RAS is basically your brain's filtering system. Its job is to decide what's going to be getting your attention, what gets ignored, what feels important, and what your brain should literally be paying attention more of. Because there's literally a million things happening all around you every single day, and your brain cannot physically or consciously process all of it at once. So your brain creates filters. And all of those filters are heavily influenced by like your dominant thoughts, your emotions, belief, your identity, your fears, and the things that you repeatedly focus on. Which means if somebody constantly thinks nothing works out for me, their brain starts to scan for evidence that supports that belief. Same thing goes for people that say things like, I'm unlucky, or people always leave me. Their brain starts to hyper focus on signs of rejection or abandonment, or it starts to notice every bad thing while overlooking positive opportunities. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons why manifestation can feel so difficult for some people. Because a lot of people are unconsciously programming their brain to look for lack. They wake up every day checking, thinking like, what's missing? What hasn't happened yet? Why am I still feeling stuck? Why is my manifestation not showing up yet? Why is life so unfair for me? They thinking about things like, why don't I have enough money? Or why does my relationship keep failing? And over time, the brain starts treating these thoughts as important information. So the reticular activating system keeps filtering reality through that lens. Not because that is all that exists, but because your brain thinks that's what you want to keep paying attention to, that's what comes up. This is why two people can go through really similar situations but experience life completely differently. One person notices opportunity, another notices limitation. One notices signs that things are really improving, and another one stays and thinks that they're stuck and only notices the proof that they're stuck. One person sees failure as something that is temporary, and another sees failure as confirmation that they're never going to succeed. The external world may look similar, but their internal fear is what is completely different there. And honestly, once I understood this, manifestation started making so much more sense to me because I realized manifestation is not only spiritual. Your brain is involved too. And that's why I got really heavy on neuroscience, but that's another topic for another day. Basically, your nervous system is involved, your subconscious mind is involved, and your emotional patterns are involved. And the one thing that people do not realize is that your brain loves familiarity, even if familiarity is pretty painful. That is why people can accidentally become emotionally attached to struggle without realizing it. If somebody lives in a toxic environment or spends years in survival mode, your brain adapts to consciously scanning for danger or rejection, lack, stress problems, fear, and instability. That literally becomes their normal filter. So even when opportunities are showing up for them, their brain's going to be overlooking them because it's too busy searching for what feels familiar. This is also a lot of the reasons why people self-sabotage, because the brain often prefers something that is familiar over unfamiliar change. And honestly, this explains why some people can listen to manifestation content like every day and still feel stuck. It's also kind of a good thing too, because you can sit there and realize, hey, if I'm like feeling pushback from this, then maybe it means that I'm changing my paradigm. Because if the dominant internal focus is still, I don't have it, I'm behind, nothing changes, I'm feeling life is hard, then the brain is going to keep reinforcing those patterns. Your reticular activating system is basically acting like a search engine. And whatever you repeatedly search for, like emotionally, mentally, energetically, your brain starts finding more of. And this is why your environment matters so much. The conversations you hear every day, the content you consume on social media, the people around you, and the way that you speak to yourself. All of that becomes programming. So if somebody spends every day around like negativity, criticism, fear, chaos, hopelessness, constant stress, your brain adapts to filtering for those emotions. But if somebody intentionally starts to focus on like growth and healing and opportunity, confidence, self-trust, possibility, abundance, solutions, peace, then the brain starts literally adapting to that instead. And no, this does not mean toxic positivity. I think people really misunderstand that part a lot. This doesn't mean pretending like your problems don't exist. It does not mean forcing yourself to fake happiness all day long either. It means becoming aware of what your brain is repeatedly being trained to focus on, because your focus becomes your filter. Honestly, one of the easiest examples of the reticular activating system is one time my dad, he bought a red Jeep. He loved it. It was chili pepper red. He was obsessed with it, right? The second he bought a chili pepper red Jeep, we literally went, and every time we went on a road, we would find chili pepper red Jeeps. But before that, we never saw them, right? Suddenly we started seeing that exact car everywhere. And not because the car magically just appeared overnight, it was already there, but our brain started literally to filter for it. And the same thing happens with manifestation. When you repeatedly focus on possibility and healing and success, your brain starts noticing new opportunities and patterns that previously blended into the background before. You may suddenly start to notice new ideas, new people that are aligned with your path, helpful information, business opportunities, solutions, or even confidence shifts within yourself. They're basically signs that are changing. And that's not because you magically became delusional, but it's because your filter started changing. And honestly, one of the biggest ways to retrain your reticular activation system is repetition. And that's why we have these big manifestation teachers like Neville Goddard and Bob Proctor talking about affirmations or writing things over and over again, because you're retraining that reticular activating system, because your brain learns through repetition and emotional significance. Because your brain learns through repetition and emotional significance. And this is why your affirmations can work when you're done correctly. Not because saying one affirmation is magically going to change your life overnight. Because repeated thoughts slowly start creating these new neural patterns. Visualization also plays a very huge role. So when you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, healing, becoming confident, creating abundance, or stepping into a new, different identity, your brain starts to become more familiar with these emotional things. You're literally teaching your brain, this matters now. And over time, your filter starts to shift. And this is why identity shifting is so powerful too. Because if you still emotionally identify as the rejected version of you, they're struggling, the abandoned version, the new version of you will never succeed, because your brain will continuing filtering that reality through that identity. But when you slowly start to embody a new identity, your brain is going to adapt. Your focus will change, your reactions will change, your emotional patterns change, your actions change. And eventually your reality starts changing too, because you are changing. And honestly, I think that's one of the most important things people need to understand. Your brain is programmable. You are not trapped in your current patterns forever. Your current pattern and filter was learned, which means it also can be retrained. But it takes consistency. You cannot spend years reinforcing lack, rejection, and struggle, and then expect your brain to really shift after affirmations and one vision board. This is a process, because once your brain starts filtering for possibility instead of fear, your entire reality begins to feel different. If you like this kind of content, subscribe for more.